All right. So we're about 3 past, which I think in the last conference was how many, or last session was how many minutes they wanted to wait. So for those who did not see my chat at the beginning, I don't know if I can pin that or not. I don't think I really can. But just to go ahead and get started here, a little housekeeping up front. I'm going to moderate this and kind of ask questions and all that. We'll introduce everybody first. Then what we'll do is I've got questions that have been asked throughout the day. We're going to kind of follow an order here of talking about E6 stuff, a lot of anticipation around that. And then there were some questions asked regarding kind of how-to stuff or a little bit of details in ExpressionEngine in general. And then we are kind of transitioned to the future of ExpressionEngine and the product as time allows and as the conversation just flows. If you would like to ask a question, we really want this to be interactive, so I'm happy to let people share their video and audio. If you would, just ask your question in the chat first, and then if it's something that can just really be quickly answered, then we'll just go with that, or if it is a good question, then we'll bring you up on stage, and then you can press that blue button to share your audio and video. Please do not everybody share their audio and video at once with me, because it's just going to get crazy. So I think that'll really help us flow. I saw some people already requesting audio and video when we first jumped on here, so I think some people are anxious to ask questions. So with that, I guess we'll go ahead and get started here if everybody's ready. So I'm Andy McCormick, and I think you guys know me as one of the conference organizers. So I was really fortunate enough to join the ExpressionEngine team, PacketTide at the time, team about a year and a month ago to the date. And so for PacketTide, ExpressionEngine, I do kind of help out with operations and then project management as well as kind of my role. So I'm kind of playing dual role today, and kind of puts me on the fence here as far as being the moderator and asking the questions, but also putting my teammates on the spot. So if I ask them the wrong questions or put them in a corner, I'm going to hear about it for the rest of the week. So these are some great guys and gals. So I guess going around clockwise on my screen anyways, Robin, if you'll introduce yourself and just tell everybody about a little bit what you do, as if they don't know you already.
Hi, everybody. I do miss seeing your actual faces, but I'm so happy they did this. Yeah, I'm tech support. I've been with ExpressionEngine since it was P Machine. So somebody said the other day it was like 20 years. It's not quite that many, but it's getting there. And I started with PacketTide at the last conference is when we started chatting, I believe. So not too much after you. Gave a workshop this time. It was super fun. It was really quiet, but had a bunch of people. So I'm kind of liking this format. Back to you.
Awesome. And so Doug, I've got you as next.
My name is Doug Black. So I'm the founder of Triple Nerd Score, and I've been fortunate, not a part of PacketTide, but I've been fortunate enough to be working alongside of everyone here and building some of the fun features that are coming in EE6. And yeah, I'm just excited to be working on this and excited to see all the demos and hear all the questions today.
Awesome. Yeah. And Doug has done a lot of effort. He's really come alongside and partnered with us, helping with 5.4, which is upcoming, and 6.0 and even 6.1 already with the CLI, I know. So, and Triple Nerd Score is a gold sponsor of EE Conference 2020. I want to throw that out there, and thanks Doug for his support. And also check out his add-on generator if you haven't already, which will be modified for 6.0 eventually soon. So maybe I'm putting him in the spot there. All right.
Curious talk about all that.
Yeah. All right. So Tom, you're next there.
Yep. Tom Jager, founder of PacketTide. I kind of jump into whatever I have to, whatever necessitates my time, if you will, and whatever is of importance at the time to the business as a whole. So I do a mix of everything.
He is our fearless leader for sure. So, and then we've got Andy Johnson.
Hey everybody, Andy Johnson. I'm an interface designer out of Columbus, Ohio. I got involved with the ExpressionEngine community also back in the P Machine days and never left. It sucked me in and I'm still here, loving it. So I've had the privilege of working alongside the ExpressionEngine team on the design of ExpressionEngine 6. So excited to hear what questions everybody has about EE6.
Awesome. And Yuri, you presented this morning, but for those who weren't in your session, if you'd introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Yuri. I haven't been machine, but I've been with ExpressionEngine since version 1. I've written literally more than 100 of different add-ons, and this year I have joined Packtide team and started working on ExpressionEngine 6, some fixes for 5 as well. But doing of work.
Awesome. And Yuri's coming to us from the Ukraine. So again, really appreciate him staying up and his family being willing to lend him to us for the night to answer some questions with us. And then last but not least, we have Matt.
Yep, and I'm Matt Johnson. I think I've been with ExpressionEngine, but Packtide/EE Harbor for about 6 years. So a lot of that time I spent working on all the add-ons when we acquired them and upgraded them to ExpressionEngine 5. And then I've done a lot of ExpressionEngine upgrades, and I'm also getting into the core here and there. So a little bit of everything.
All right. All right, so we'll go ahead and jump in. Tom, are you anxious to say something there?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. So again, starting with EE6 here, the big question of the day that has been asked numerous times to me personally in our forum, in chats, is do we have a delivery date for 6.0 beta?
The 6.0 beta, we're aiming for Wednesday, this upcoming Wednesday.
Awesome.
And we're planning a public beta for that. So we're excited. We did go back and forth on whether to go public or not. We decided to, we decided not to, but ultimately we decided, you know what, this is really the best path forward. So yeah, we're excited for people to dig in, to get their hands into it, and you know, for add-on developers to start, you know, upgrading add-ons as well.
Awesome. And so do we have any idea? It's funny that I'm saying we, like I'm answering this question here. Is there any idea as far as how long we want to stay in beta before we're looking for a release candidate or anything like that?
Yeah, so the beta, we're hoping it's a pretty short beta. You know, we talked a little bit in my talk about, you know, I talked a little bit in my talk about the ease of upgrading add-ons, things like that. But we're hoping for short beta. We're hoping that add-ons can upgrade very quickly. In Yuri's talk, you know, he kind of walked through how to do that. There's really only one mandatory change if you're using the you know, the shared styles, if you will, or assets that come in ExpressionEngine. From there, basically everything else should work. So I know that I want to say all of our add-ons are ready for 6. Yuri, can you shed any light on that?
You mean our add-ons like EE
Harbor? Yeah, I think they're almost all ready, right?
Well, I think some 100% ready, but I would say like 95%.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, we're pretty close. I know Brian Litzinger at one point had said, I believe that his are all ready as well. So we did a very small alpha. I mean, a very small alpha a couple months ago, and we did that mostly because we still had time, we knew, in the development cycle of 6 to catch and actually modify changes if there was any big breaking changes, because we really want to make sure the upgrade process for add-on developers is as easy as possible. So yeah, Brian said his is 100% ready. So
Awesome.
Yeah, that's really what's going to dictate the timeline. At some point, we might have to just get to the point where we say, okay, you know what, it's time to move forward and release. But we're hoping that with the ease of upgrade, we can keep it, people can get them upgraded quickly, and we can do a release maybe, weeks, not months out from there. So,
Sure. And yes, Mike, we know that it took longer than expected for that beta. So, but I think Tom's talk this morning shed some light onto all that we've been working on and all that's gone into it. And I think the response was really good this morning. I saw a lot of comments on it. It's definitely worth the wait, and I guess, lack of a better word, the awesomeness of it. And that's definitely bringing ExpressionEngine into the modern times and setting a strong platform for the future, which is really what we want to do. Mike also asked earlier through the form, what's the current plan for pricing of E6? And E6 Plus, he says. He may be referring to where we talked about a pro option in one of our blog posts there.
Yeah, absolutely. So everything we went over today is going to be in the free open source version of ExpressionEngine. Originally, we were hoping and intending to ultimately release 6.0, kind of the free version, if you will, the open source version, and the pro version simultaneously. We simply weren't able to do that. We don't feel as though it's worth holding up the product to line up pro, if you will, but we are working on pro. We'll be working on pro, and from there, pro will be out. So everything you saw today will be free open source. Does that answer the question?
I think so. Yep. There was another question about pricing, free versus paid, and there's no, as far as EE Core goes, we have no current plans of having a free versus paid version. The only thing would be that EE Pro option. That would be in addition to Core, but ExpressionEngine, as you know and love it, will continue to not cost anything there. So TJ asked, with the LTS thing, how does that work as 7, 8, and 9 come out?
Not 100% sure I follow.
I think this morning you mentioned 6 would be LTS, and then 7, 8 might not be, and then 9 would be. TJ, if that's not clear, if you want to share your audio video, I'll let you on here.
Yeah, I mean, just like, so if 6 is going to be LTS, I assume you're going to continue on with 7, which probably won't be LTS. Who knows, 8, but like, so how does that like work exactly? Is it pretty much the Ubuntu model, or what is your thinking there? I mean, because Ubuntu, I guess, would be a little bit different model because they do a LTS every so often, and it's every other version, I think, is an LTS. Anyway, just if you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you asked that. Funny enough, I almost mentioned Ubuntu in my presentation as well. I think they do it well. They do 5 years, and then they actually offer people another 5-year runway. So you can have 10-year support on a given version. The second 5 are paid. So basically, we are stepping up to the bat and saying, we're going to maintain this version. So we're not going to implement any breaking changes. So version 7, version 8, so forth and on, if you will, would contain the breaking changes. But 6 will remain supported from a PHP support, a security support, a stability standpoint as well. At some point, development focus will shift in that arc, right? So we'll shift more of the focus to 7 or 8 or 9, something like that over the course. So, you might not see new features or functionality come in. You definitely won't if they're not backwards compatible. But we plan to support, for 5 years, version 6, and simultaneously, the goal is to have the next LTS out a year before the 5-year period ends. So people could jump from LTS to LTS.
So would you say that new features would stop coming to 6 when 7 comes out, or how would that work?
To be completely transparent, I don't know yet. We haven't gotten that far in the conversations to say, hey, at what point do we stop, essentially?
Fair enough. Thanks.
Yep.
All right. So Brian, if you want to jump on here, you were just about to ask about challenges that we've had as a team.
Yeah. So you acquired a company or a product. especially in E6. I assume there's a lot of stuff that came with that. I'm just curious, like what hurdles or things you might have had to overcome, or what challenges you faced in, getting the product out and all that stuff. I mean, obviously without any too detailed stuff that you don't need to know, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I almost want to hear Robin chime in on this. Not to put you on the spot, Robin, but because you literally made that jump too. So I don't know.
For me, it was easy. I pretty much do mostly what I did before, except for when somebody's like, structure's broken. I can't say, well, go talk to Jay. It's not my problem. So now it's my problem. The biggest thing is just tracking stuff down. Like today we were looking, it's like, where's the login for this? I'm like, I don't know. It's been 15 years. We had 5 different logins. I don't know. So yeah, just a lot of that sort of back end stuff for a product that's got some miles on it. There wasn't one way we did a lot of things. You guys playing with the repos had lots of fun with that. It's everywhere. Yeah.
Yep.
No, structure's not being my problem right now. Something else.
Tom, we may push this down the road a little bit if you want to when we get to the future and everything. But do you want to talk about that a little bit with the repos and any information as far as for the community and how we're handling the repos, or people that want to submit PRs, how we're going to track issues with beta, that kind of stuff?
Yep, absolutely. So with beta, we are going to move all of the 6.x development from a private repo into the current public repo. As a team, we want to migrate more and more of our development and efforts into the public repo. When we acquired ExpressionEngine, there was a decent bit, I wouldn't say all of the development, but a lot of the development was done in a private repo. We kind of just carried on with that. Honestly, in part, we were anticipating a much sooner release point than where we're at now. So issues, throw them right in GitHub, please. We'll keep doing that. Andy, I'm kind of looking at you here. I assume you want people to tag those with a beta or version 6 or something. You're muted, I think.
Yep, of course I am. So we're going to update that issue screen, the issue template sum, and one of those will be we'll have a label for beta. So when you open up issues in GitHub, you'll want to make sure that you tag that as the E6 beta, and that's just going to help us triage issues a little bit as we bring them back to our team and ask for help from others and that kind of stuff. So for sure. All right, Blair, if you're up for it, do you want to share your video and I'll let you in and you can talk about feature requests and stuff? We'll give them a minute there. Oh, here they go.
Hey, that worked.
Hey.
There. I got to actually talk to Tom on the phone not too long ago, and that was just amazing to talk to you in person, by the way. Shout out to that one. Can you explain or just elaborate how you are deciding on new feature requests and the merit of those? Are they good? Is that a bad one? And if those would then be part of the free package or the pro package?
Yeah, absolutely. In my talk, I mentioned a little bit that most everything that we look at look at through the eyes of value and the value proposition. So that is a fundamental question we'll ask whenever a feature request comes in. Does this give value to the product? And if it does, is it kind of the CMS implementers? Is it add-on developers? Is it I'm losing the third one right now. The content admins, if you will, the content administrators. So we'll look at it through that lens usually first. From there, to be completely honest, we usually have conversations, and we have a kind of a rule, another guiding principle, if you will, that if you disagree with anything, that you're required to argue your point. So if I use the term "we'll argue about them," we will internally discuss, we'll say, things until either consensus is formed or kind of everything's been laid out, and then a decision has to be made. So that's a bit of how we make that process. One of the things that we don't allow as kind of a company culture is, if you disagree, to not say anything, and then we, say we forge forward, we build this feature out, but it flops, and then somebody says, "I knew that wasn't going to work." We don't tolerate that, because we consider that passive sabotage. So I don't know if that's more information than you were bargaining for, but that's kind of how we look at it. Honestly, if there's a feature somebody feels really passionate about, and you want to go beyond a feature request, ping me in Slack. I'll jump on a call. I'm happy to jump on a call.
All right, and I had pinged Varen here, I believe is how you say it. But it does not look like they're on right now. So they had a question through the form about regarding the front-end user templates. I know we talked about Twig earlier, but they said, one of the biggest things I'd like to see in EE6 is front-end user templates. Okay, no, this is dealing with actual users. Can you describe what the implementation is like? Are they based on the user module from SoulSpace, or have they been rewritten and modernized? Hold on, bear with me here. In particular, I'd like to know if your user messaging has been pulled to the front-end templates, and if the user avatar upload can now perform transformations and filters to user pics. Thanks. So kind of a lot there, but as far as the user templates on the front end, are we doing anything with that with EE6? What does that look like? Are we opening up any more functionality there? Anything like that?
I can probably say something on that. So we are adding more template tags to member module. It's not, we are not taking anything from user. It's user code or visitor code just remains wherever it is. We are just adding new stuff to a member and exposing it to the templates with the template tags. We will also be providing some sample code install them at functionality that will eventually replace the built-in member template system member templates, or that's in short.
All right. I'm waiting for Jeremy. Yep, here comes Jeremy. Jeremy had a question about site tree and structure kind of functionality here.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Great. So I've been using ExpressionEngine since EE1, and I have tons of different clients on ExpressionEngine. It is one of my favorite content management systems, really the only content management system we use in-house. I've experimented with others. There's been some other big jobs that I've worked on where we've been forced to use, a CMS that they want to use. But my question is, in using all of the content management systems I've ever used and using ExpressionEngine, I've seen a great benefit and a request from even clients who have been on different content management systems for some sort of site tree. And to be able to easily add pages, I think as a developer, it would be something that would be amazing to have too. I know that there's a plugin or an add-on, structure that can do that, but I would really, really like to see something natively. I'm currently working with the CMS that you kind of build everything, code it from scratch in a way, but they have a site tree, and I can see the benefit of merging the power of that with ExpressionEngine, and it would probably just blow it out of the water.
Yeah, structure is an interesting one. I'm trying to figure out how to answer that question. Wigwam, for instance, was a pretty slam dunk answer. Structure, we've talked about it once or twice, the potential of it. It's not as straightforward, if you will, of an answer. I don't feel like I have a great answer for you, and I feel bad because unfortunately it's kind of I don't really know. It's not a bridge we've crossed yet. I don't know if anybody else has thoughts on it they want to share from the team or add to it.
Answer is we don't know yet.
Which is good, but I've seen benefit for it because there's been a couple jobs of very, very, very large websites that have microsites within them that, having a site tree, we would have been able to use that. We would have been able to use ExpressionEngine for the job, but because it just did not tick off that box, we weren't able to use it. And so we've not lost, we've had to use another content management system to do it, but we try to stick with EE. Pretty much 99% of all of our sites are EE. But those really, really big jobs, that have a lot of pages, a lot of microsites within one. I can tell you one was like a city website for a very large city in the US, and they have tons of departments, and they were turned off by EE because, there was no visual site tree. We tried to show structure, but it didn't check off those boxes. But if that site tree would have been there, that would have definitely been an ExpressionEngine website, along with those others where we've had to move away from EE just because that site tree is not there.
Yeah.
I'm curious because it sounds like structure wouldn't really have been great for this. Not to give anybody kudos, but what was the site tree? How did it differ?
Well, they've got their main site and loose leaf pages, and then they have all these microsites. And then, of course, there's different page templates to be assigned to those. There was just some things at the time that structure, just because it was an add-on, it didn't natively work, with a lot of some features within EE that we wanted it to, or tie it in, or would have had to have extended development. And so I guess I'm focusing more on like the native feature where everything's kind of baked in with the site tree. I just think that would just blow EE out of the water. I've been an EE advocate since I started using it. And I love it, absolutely love it. It just on that one point falls short. Other than that, love it, use it for everything, and I would not change, to anything else.
Thank you for the feedback. We will discuss that. I can promise you that. So
thanks. Can't wait to see EE6 and all of the features in it. So I appreciate you all answering my question.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Bye-bye.
All right, so Jared had a question on here, and I'm trying to scroll back up to find it. Where did it go? You guys just loaded some questions in here on me. You mentioned that you rolled Wigwam into E6. Are you guys planning to roll any other notable functionality from add-ons into the core? Can you hear me, Tom?
I can. My inclination is always to jump right in, so I'm trying to see if somebody else does. Right off the bat, with the open source version, Yuri had mentioned, the member templates. So coming out the gate with 6, right off the bat with the beta, particularly like visitor and user, those are very popular add-ons as well. The need kind of diminishes. There might be a thing or two that each of them do that aren't native just yet, but by and large, we're going to see that continue to iterate on the core version as well. So that's how to answer it. When it comes to things like image or asset management, it's because we've had that question several times. You're going to roll assets in, you're going to roll channel images in. The answer is no. We're not going to roll those in, and the answer is no on that front because we look at what those products currently offer, and then where we want to see asset management head in ExpressionEngine, and it doesn't really line up. 100% to say, hey, let's use that as the building point instead of what we have already. Especially when you start taking into account backwards compatibilities, right? We don't want to just drop something in and blow up everybody's images, on 100 sites in version 7, or 100,000 sites in version 7, that type of thing. So, how to iterate and improve forward, if you will, on that front.
Yep. All right. So, got a question moving back to a little bit of how we're handling things, security. So, one thing that ExpressionEngine's been known for is being a very secure CMS. I don't think we've ever had, or before us, any major vulnerabilities, any major exploitations, or anything that have happened through ExpressionEngine. So going forward, though, are there any plans for how we want to continue to maintain that reputation? Are we doing anything, monitoring security reports, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so we're currently we're enrolled in HackerOne, which it's basically a program that bounty hunters or hackers are able to, they download ExpressionEngine, they set it up, and they hack into it as well as they can. And they're looking for things, and it's with the goal of reporting them to us. And we have gotten a few things here and there. A lot of them are hit or miss. Some people are just trying to get another notch on their hey, I figured something out. But some of them are legit, and we look into them, and those are always a high priority for us. So those are constantly being rolled into the core, and yeah, I mean, that's still a high priority.
I'd just add to that, business, wise, if you will. We've looked at what LS Lab did on the security front, and they have always taken that very seriously and done a phenomenal job. And we felt it was very appropriate to follow suit. So that's kind of been how we've proceeded on our end. And Matt mentioned HackerOne. We jump into those right away. So.
Yep. Awesome. All right, we're going to hit a few functionality features, and then Gavin, I want to come back to your question about e-commerce as well too. So Paul, as the Earth's only Moblog user, I'm curious on the status of Moblog for 5.4 or E6 and beyond.
Yeah, I think that one's you.
Yeah, this goes to me. So maybe there are more than one user of Moblog on the Earth, because we are getting a few bug reports and even, I think, feature requests for Moblog. We're paying attention to those and trying to take. We are not putting them as a higher priority, and will be probably not adding any new features to Moblog, at least anytime soon, unless we see growing interest in this feature. But it will be functional. We didn't remove it from 6. It's still, we are trying to fix the bugs that are being reported. So if you are using it, you should be able to successfully use it in version 5.4 and then in 6.
Awesome. So one question, and this is one good reason we have Doug, and then Corey, if you want to ask to share your video, we'll get into that question about APIs JSON next after that. But so somebody asked in the forum, are there any plans to introduce more CLI commands into ExpressionEngine? For example, a command to create new fields, new users, new template groups, anything like that. So maybe just touch on general what we can expect from the CLI in 6 and 6.1, and then if that kind of, what that lays the foundation for as far as the future goes.
Yeah, the CLI will be coming in version 6 and version 5.4. Super exciting kind of stuff. We try to make it as, like Tom had mentioned in the talk, this morning, that Laravel kind of sets the way when it comes to CLI and queuing. They're kind of the industry standard, and so we took some cues from what they do, as well as building in some features that would be specific to ExpressionEngine. So the CLI, as it'll be released in version 6, we'll have some, some fairly basic kind of things, clearing cache and updating, getting some information, as well as being extendable for third-party add-ons. So if you're an add-on developer, you can create your own commands and run those fairly easy and have a fairly robust interface for the CLI to get input, to put output, that kind of thing. In 6.1 is where you're going to start to see some of those other extendable features where you can create your own add-on from the CLI. So if you have to, you can just completely scat. It's going to make my E add-on generator almost completely, it's going to totally go away, which is exciting. So because you'll be able to do that all from the CLI, you can, process your queues and, add a model to an existing third-party add-on, as well as, hopefully the goal would be to continue to extend that to, create channels, create fields, all from the CLI. So, and hopefully too, I know there was some mention of like migrations and that kind of thing. All of that will be coming in there as well.
Awesome. Anything else from anybody? All right. I'm going to bring Corey up here. So a couple of people asked the questions. Corey, before you ask your question directly here, a few people asked about about API in 6. So one of them being, as far as using ExpressionEngine as a web service, someone mentioned in one of the other discussions that there was even, somebody had mentioned security vulnerabilities with using E as a web service, but then also just making it easier to put ExpressionEngine in that position for applications like React and Angular and that kind of stuff. And then Corey was just bringing that up. So Corey, if you want to start that question that you had, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I'm working for a large organization. They want a bunch of these small React microsites, and our biggest stumbling block is handling content. But we're so used to processing JSONs. If we could hit an ExpressionEngine site for a channel entry and just get a JSON spit back out to us, that would be awesome. Is that in the works? Is that coming at all? Does that already exist and I don't know about it?
That's a great question. Where my mind goes is I'm not 100% clear on and I'm hoping somebody else on the team can chime in here. Does anybody know if you can go models to JSON?
So you can't just yet, but it'll be in 6.1.
Wow.
Where models will be JSON serializable. Yeah.
So that's where my mind first went. Honestly, my mind probably first went there because I did that a ton of times in the Laravel world. So, other places my mind go, kind of past looking. Actually, add-on that we had, I think we released it back in the 2 days. It actually took a template, hooked into the template parser, and basically just outputted the JSON. So you could have like a page of your site, remove like all of the template HTML, and just return JSON from like the HTML tags that had been processed. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Future looking, I think people want to know about GraphQL. They want to know about, more extensible APIs. That's definitely on the roadmap. It's not going to be 6.0 out the gate. 6.1 will have the JSON models, which honestly, that might be a really good place to start. It's pretty easy to make a model call, return results, and ultimately have it as JSON. So that is something on our radar. That is a direction that we feel is just needed in our industry at this time. I don't know, does anybody else want to add to that?
I was wondering, was someone saying that there is a security issue with doing JSON?
So before, earlier, somebody mentioned that Derek had once upon a time said that it wasn't recommended. And somebody even submitted a question today saying, how safe is it to use E as a web service? Are there any do's and don'ts?
Yeah, so I saw that, and I'm not really familiar with why Derek said that, I guess. In my mind, you're just outputting content like you would if it were in HTML, if it were in a blog or whatever. So, I mean, maybe we should look into the reasons behind that, but it seems like you hit a route and you tell it to return JSON with the same data you would. So
by quick way of background, Matt's our security guy. He basically will handle all of it or jump in or honestly direct us. Hey, we really need to do X or Y. The only other thought I had when somebody mentioned that, Derek mentioned that was, I know it's kind of meta. When he mentioned that Derek mentioned, was I wonder if it was more like a WebSockets type thing. Now PHP's gotten a lot better at that over the years, but I'd probably venture to say there's still significantly better options in PHP to be handling kind of WebSockets for services, that type of thing. So cool.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Corey.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Corey.
Thanks.
All right. So Nikki has been asking about category management, and she just got a +1 from that from Justin. So we're going to let her ask her question. Hey, Nikki.
Hello.
Hey.
So I actually submitted an issue on GitHub several months ago for 5. Don't even remember which version anymore of 5, but it came after I was asked by a client to reorder some of their categories and subcategories, and they have over 100 of them. So I was wondering if there's going to be any collapsible functionality added to that so that they can accordion up into their parent to make it easier to slide them around. Because when you're trying to move a parent with 16 children down the screen, it's like very difficult. So I was just wondering if, accordion for the category management, basically.
That might be a good question, Andy, if you have any insight in that from what you've seen.
Yeah, hi, Nikki. That's a great question. And I can definitely see the benefit of that. I don't think yet there's been anything implemented that I've seen that actually allows you to do that easier than what you described. But I'll put your vote in as well as mine because it definitely is a feature I can see. I see your pain point for sure.
When I was trying to do it, I had to and I used the trackpad mouse on my iMac, so I was pushing and holding and hoping I didn't let go by accident, because then it would go right back up to the top.
Yep.
So that would
Crossing
be
your
awesome
fingers
if
as
they
the screen
collapsed.
is scrolling by.
Right.
No, that's a great question. I'll write that down and circle back with the team and take a closer look at that. And if not a collapsible solution, then maybe there's an alternate way that we can make that easier for you. But we'll put our heads into that and see where it goes. Appreciate you bringing it up.
I know internally we have talked about doing a big revision on categories. I think it's been a while since that's been updated, really. But yeah, as of right now, I don't think we have any progress on that. So.
All right. Thanks, Nikki.
Thank you.
And so follow up with that quickly, Justin had mentioned anything about, from a functionality standpoint, regarding custom fields or anything like that into categories. I don't think we've made any big changes with that as of right now. Is that correct?
That is correct. I think a lot of people don't realize, or maybe it wasn't brought to the forefront, but and I'm kind of looking at you, Robin, here to speak up too. I believe in 5, they implemented custom fields on categories. Is that right? Kind of.
You've always had custom fields, right? But not true custom fields. Even the file field isn't really a file field.
All right. So basically, more to come on categories in the future. But apparently, from all the +1s, that's definitely something that some people care about, and we definitely want to make sure we have that on our radar in our conversations. All right, so we're going to let TJ come on here. I know this is very dangerous, but not so much having TJ on here, but to talk Composer. So there's a lot of questions that we're asking the forum and chat throughout the day, and then TJ mentioned it on here because he likes to start fires. I'm just joking. But as far as Composer support and ExpressionEngine, so TJ, I want you to ask your question, but I do also want to say we kind of want to wrap up here in about 9-8 minutes, something like that. So We'll talk about Composer, and then I want to move towards questions that are really about the future of the product and the company as a whole.
Okay. Well, I like to bang my modern PHP drum once in a while, and ExpressionEngine comes from an older era. CodeIgniter really brought PHP into the light, and now that's kind of my backdrop for how do we bring ExpressionEngine into the modern era. So Composer is one of the big questions for me. Like, I have an add-on I would love to be Sherlocked that sort of brings Composer support, but I'm just curious about your thoughts on that.
We've talked. Go ahead, Tom.
No, you got it, Matt. Go.
I know we've talked a lot about this internally, and there are some hurdles with it. So we've talked about a few ways. What does Composer mean? So on one side, just installing a site through Composer. And then on the other side, managing all the assets in the site, including the add-ons through Composer. And so those are two different beasts, I think. But I know that's something that we'd like to get in there. I don't know, Tom, if you have something else to add to that. But.
It's I mentioned earlier that we do the whole, you're required to argue your point thing internally. That comes in play with Composer when we start talking about it. Whether it's the core or it's hey, what about just implementing it for third-party add-ons? Provide that mechanism so people aren't running into conflicts left and right. If they're installing two things, Composer is an interesting one. Kind of broad stroke, if you will. And the options around it, right? Like, we could start pulling in a ton of third-party packages to the core. The code install base could go from, I'm trying to remember what it is right now, 20 megs, 9 megs. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, to a couple hundred. It's funny to watch over the years where it's gone in Laravel as well, where actually I'll share this because I think it's funny. There was a tweet that was like, somebody was talking about Composer and Laravel, and they were like, oh, just try not to use too many dependencies. And then somebody else chimed in and said, yeah, it's kind of like ExpressionEngine too, like, just don't use too many add-ons as a whole. And I thought this wasn't even like, somebody I recognized in the community or anything like that. I just thought it was hilarious. Tweet, if you will. But there is an element of that, right? So all of a sudden, if you have all these Composer packages, and we've run into this with big applications that you then try to upgrade and the packages are just gone. So we talk about that, but then we talk about, okay, well, what if we broke apart the core and we use Composer internally to compile our own packages? What if we do the add-on developers? This is a very roundabout way of saying that, yes, we need to do something with Composer. We fully realize that. We're talking through it. We haven't talked about this as a team, but I would be open to, having community discussion on that too. Just like, hey, let's do, a big Google Hangout or Zoom meeting or whatever that is, and hear people's thoughts, and we can, kind of spitball ideas and, see what might make the most sense. But yeah, it's, TJ, great question. We fully recognize, the necessity, and we also recognize the other side of that equation too. So,
yeah, we've had we've had a few hour-long meetings on Composer alone. So, it's something we want in there, but it's turning out to be a technical hurdle that just we have to get through. So,
are we allowed to say the other CMS's name on the thing? Like, there's another CMS that does this, and it doesn't require everybody to. Those who don't want to, they don't have to use Composer in the command line. The CMS will actually handle, like add-ons are all installed through Composer, but the CMS, if you don't want to touch it, will handle it through the control panel and all that stuff. So it's just food for thought, for sure.
All right.
Absolutely.
So we would definitely continue to argue that and discuss that internally. So, but yeah, it's definitely a very modern topic and something that's always discussed. So, all right. Thank you, TJ. All right. So Oliver asked from IC360, one of our great supporters of the conference and also an EE partner, asked about the partner program. So we really needed to transition here into the future and kind of move out of this session so that people can migrate over to the business roundtable. But he says, as an EE partner, I believe the EE partner program is vitally important to creating a balanced EE ecosystem. Partners become evangelists for the platform, and clients have an improved source of skilled and reliable developers for hire. Does ExpressionEngine have any plans to involve partners more in a feedback loop of sorts, to offer input on future developments, reviews of implementation, or wish list voting? So I guess, Tom, this really goes to you as far as, are there any plans for the partner program, and where do we see that in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. The partners program it's a very interesting one. I've done a lot of calls with the partners, and I want to do more. So if the partners are listening and you want to jump on a call, please ping me. We have a lot of ideas around it. There's kind of three ends of the partner equation. One is the ExpressionEngine end, if you will. Second is the partner's end. What are they hoping for from the program? It differs from partner to partner. Some people, it's really just part of their sales funnel, if you will. That's totally okay. We encourage partners who are going to deliver value and take care of customers of ExpressionEngine. But ultimately, there's also the people who come in looking for a partner to do something. So that's kind of the third end of that equation. So why do I mention that? There's a lot of different ways that we're looking at the partner program. One of them is how can we, again, deliver more value to the existing partners? We have a lot of ideas around that. One of the things that we're kicking around is, you asked about, I think it was access to the developers, feedback, those types of things. One of those ideas right off the bat is actually a private Slack channel, not intended for support, just to kind of be very blunt, if you will, but a way to connect with us, to touch base, to talk. Another one is roundtables on a regular basis with the partners, and being able to chat, what are they thinking, what are their thoughts, what are their ideas. Was there another part to the question I'm missing here, Andy?
No, I think that's generally just where we're headed with the partner program, so that's good.
Cool.
Along with that, I think we'll do two more questions here and then we'll jump off. So Mike asked, what are we doing about getting EE out there and trying to attract new users and developers? I know that's a good topic, because Tom, you and I were just discussing this a couple of days ago when we were thinking about developers, and I was discussing this with somebody else from the community as well, just about basically, lack of a better word, new blood. Fresh young developers out there who are just coming in. A lot of people in the community have been developing on EE for a long time, but plans as far as trying to attract new developers and getting people to come over and help grow the product and the ecosystem.
Yeah, it's a really great question. I know that was touched on some other talks today too. I guess to make it a little blunt, if you will, there's currently no on-ramp to ExpressionEngine, essentially. There isn't the tutorials, there isn't video tutorials, there isn't written tutorials, things along those lines. So that is an action that we have taken. We've worked with Doug to actually put together a video series, and Justin Ali to do a written series for the university. We've also been talking with Rob Allen about more advanced tutorials as well. We want to work with almost anybody who wants to do a tutorial of some sort to create that on-ramp. So that's part of the equation. I do think it's a big part. Right now, the barrier to entry is essentially open the docs and, I don't want to say fail forward, but figure out your way through the docs in Slack to be able to successfully use ExpressionEngine. And we need to change that. So, I think where we're at, that's what we're viewing as the largest hurdle, if you will. Does anybody else on the team want to add to that?
I want to mention just that there are a couple basic videos. I think Kevin Cupp made I think it was EE5, that go through a pretty basic site setup. But otherwise, I totally agree with you.
Those are great videos.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was on that end here just a few years ago when I was at my other agency, and I came in as a developer, and they handed me 90 ExpressionEngine sites and said, "Here, go learn this thing." So I definitely understand the pain points from onboarding into ExpressionEngine. And we've had some great discussions about that as well. So one last question, and then we're going to have to close up shop here. But deals with the future of ExpressionEngine and just a general statement. And I think this definitely goes to Tom here. But it says, where do you see ExpressionEngine in 3 years? World domination or happily fulfilling a relatively small but passionate and dedicated user base? Will EE be 1990s Apple or Microsoft? So where do we see the product of ExpressionEngine here in a few years?
Oh boy. This is where it's easy for me to go philosophical. The 3 years. 3 years is an interesting time period. I can almost answer 5 or 10 better than 3. So that being said, 3 years out, I do see the popularity gaining of ExpressionEngine. You know, we've been sorry, some of the comments, TJ, are making me laugh. You know, we definitely have spent time trying to figure out and basically distill down what are the drivers or pillars of growth for ExpressionEngine. We are concluding that that's not a fast process if you really want to get accurate drivers of growth. And it's oftentimes that one is going to be lagging the others. I do believe one of those drivers is education. So by and large, I view it gaining in popularity pretty substantially, especially with the open source with 6. When it comes to the EE and Microsoft question, you know, I almost hesitate to share this, but I'm gonna, and you know, the team might not like it, but where we're at, or I'm sorry, not the EE and Microsoft, Apple and Microsoft. I might more so term it along the lines of closed systems and open systems. So you have seen systems like Apple, where it's a very closed system, right? Like you have to go through their auditing process to even get in the App Store. And then, you know, we see very open systems where, let's say WordPress, right? It's very much all over the place. As a company, we are striving to quite literally embrace both of those nearly simultaneously. So with the open source version, we want to have more sanity, if you will, than what we see in the WordPress world. We want to be very open. And then when Pro comes out, I know we haven't talked about Pro much, that's actually going to be a much more closed type of approach. It's going to be a very tightly integrated user experience and how to word it, tightly integrated, I guess I just say experience across the board for users. So I don't know if that's if that really answers the question fully, but that's how I'd answer it.
I think it answers the question for today because it's 4:30. We're going to have to wrap up here. Definitely, I think some of our team members are going to be in the expo booth either probably tomorrow at this point, but we'll definitely be chilling in the lounge. I encourage everybody, we're going to go ahead and close up here. So exit out of here, go back to the sessions page, and the business roundtable is going to be starting. I just pinged Lydia to let everybody, you know, go top off your drink or go use the restroom, whatever you need to do, and hop over there. I know it's been a long day. And then also for everybody that makes it that long, 7 o'clock, we are going to have the virtual happy hour over in the lounge. So I know at least I'm going to be there. Some of us may be over there, and you can ask more questions. You can always ping Tom individually or any of us individually if you want to get some more questions. Get some more questions in or answers or just talk about business or whatever. So again, to my team, to my teammates there, I really appreciate you guys letting me put you through this and your patience. And thank you, audience, attendees, for your questions. Wish we could get more in, wish we could get more people on the stage, but there's just more to unpack. And we could probably be here for a long time discussing all this. But I think we can sum it up with, we don't know everything right now. We know that E6 is not the end. It's not just getting to E6 and that's all. That's just setting the foundation for the future. And that's really what we want to do. We want this to be a platform to excel the product and the community into the future and do a lot of great things together as a community. And again, as a conference organizer, I can't stress that enough, the importance of you guys, the importance of the community, and what that means for the product. So we love you guys, and hope everyone's doing well. And we'll see you guys in the lounges. Talk to you guys later.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, guys.